With us today, we have Farnoosh Torabi. Farnoosh is a personal finance expert, best-selling author, and TV personality. Her books include Psych Yourself Rich and When She Makes More, 10 Rules for Breadwinning Women. Among her many credits, Farnoosh is a contributing editor at Money Magazine and frequent contributor to Daily Worth, Yahoo, and The Today Show. She's also the host of the daily podcast So Money on iTunes. Farnoosh has many great insights, guidance, and tips that can help us make better decisions when trying to achieve financial independence. Also with us today, we have Professor Nathan Nevemsky. Professor Nevemsky is a professor of marketing with the Yale School of Management and also has an appointment as a professor of psychology at Yale University. He's an expert in the psychology of judgment and decision-making and has published many articles in leading marketing and psychology journals. He's also frequently invited to speak at corporate executive meetings about behavioral economics and consumer behavior. Professor Nevemsky has some great insights as to how our behavior as consumers may impact the financial decisions we make. Farnoosh, Professor Nevemsky, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Mike, for having us.
No problem. So this topic of retirement, it's such a broad topic. There's so many things that we could talk about today. But I wanted to frame out our conversation for the audience by starting with a few of the more startling retirement statistics around what's going on in this country. So I've put a slide up on the screen for everyone to see. If you look at this, nearly 1 in 5 people nearing retirement between the age of 45 and 60 have nothing saved. 46% of all American workers have less than $10,000 saved, and Americans are $7.7 trillion short of what they need for retirement income. If you look at these statistics, and that last one is staggering, $7.7 trillion, it seems that the worker today has not been able to meet this challenge head on. Now, when we look over the last few decades, we've seen a shift in the responsibility of saving for retirement. It's really gone from the employer and government benefits. So we had things like Social Security that were more robust. We had perhaps pensions that were more robust to rely on today, where the worker has to rely more on what they've saved or invested for the income that they're going to be generating in retirement. Farnoosh, let me start with you.
Sure.
Is this really a resource issue? Are we stretched too thin? Or are we just not prioritizing retirement enough today?
I think it's a combination of what you just said. I mean, the onus is really on the consumer now to fund retirement. So a lot of factors at play. One is, of course, that we're financially fragile. Many Americans still living paycheck to paycheck. So they're not even able to set aside enough for retirement. At least they don't feel that they have the ability to do that. And for those of us who have some money left over at the end of the month, we're not sure how to prioritize it. We have competing financial obligations. So it's not just retirement, but we're also perhaps looking at funding the college education savings account, helping our older parents transition into their retirement. You know, the sandwich generation is struggling to meet the demands of their own kids and then their parents. And then let's also remember that the financial crisis of 2009, 2010, while we have rebounded, and as far as the market goes, many people's 401ks are still 201ks, 101ks. Many people fled the market during that time frame, and so they're making up for those losses. And so there are a number of headwinds, and the bottom line is, you know, you just have to take it upon yourself, learn what's out there, take advantage of those resources, and probably get your thinking straight a little bit too, right? Which is where Nathan comes in.
Sure. So competing financial priorities is a big decision point that I pulled from that, and I think that's something we're going to be talking about a lot today. Nathan, you have done a lot of research on consumer behaviors and behavioral economics. Is part of the challenge here that this generation has maybe too much of a live for today mentality?
I think that's a big part of it. I think all of us have a live for today mentality, but I think they're facing a new cost that our parents and grandparents didn't face. I think when you start to think about retirement, the first thing you have to think about is today's budget and where can you put savings in that budget. We're so focused on today, whether it's student loans, whether it's saving for a car, whether it's saving for college. You have to ask yourself, is there some room in today's budget where I can think about something that's not right in front of me? And it's very hard to get people to think about things that are not right in front of them. And we'll come to some of those things later today about how to actually do that. But I think that's the real trick, thinking about something that's not right in front of you when you think about your budget.
Great advice, great points. So I'm also putting now up for everyone to see an image. It's a picture of something that might pop into someone's head when they think about what they might like to be doing in retirement. Here's a very relaxing beach scene. This could be any beach. For some folks, it might be golf courses. For others, it might be tropical islands. Whatever someone thinks of when they think about what they would enjoy doing in retirement. Nathan, how important is it for someone to really create that mental image of what they're going to be doing in retirement, the things that they're going to be enjoying, and the activities they might be spending money on in order to help them take more action today?
So surprisingly, actually thinking about the things you'll enjoy about travel, about going to the beach, about golf, about moving in with your grandkids if that's what you want to do, whatever it is that makes you excited about retirement, if you can put a little of that picture into yourself now, that'll help motivate you to save. So I said it's hard to carve out a part of today's budget to do this because it's out of sight. One of these mental tricks is bring it into sight by imagining being on that golf course or whatever the thing is that you love. And I think if you start to imagine that, say, I really want to be able to afford to be on a golf course when I get older, or whatever is the thing that I want to do, if you can start to imagine that in and bring a reality to it, then you'll start to think about it today, and you might even put some savings to it today. And I think that's a great way to get out of that problem we were talking about.
So we're probably pretty good about doing this in the short term. If I know I need a house down payment and I'm buying my first home, I'm going to work very hard to make that happen. And I can visualize that because it's right in front of me. But we need to practice or really work on our longer term visions. Farnoosh, in looking at this image, if instead of putting this up, I had instead put up a, say, 7-figure number with a dollar sign in front of it, and I said to everyone, this is what you'll need to be happy in retirement. This will take care of all your goals based on the plan we've laid out. We focus on the math a lot of times, and math is very important. We need to figure out how much you need to save to get to where you need to be, but is that putting the cart before the horse? Should we really be focusing more on that mental picture?
Absolutely, absolutely. Math is important. You have to look at the numbers, face the reality that you're facing. But I always say before you do the math, before you crunch the numbers, you want to take a step back and think about your goals, short-term and long-term, because goals carry price tags, but goals get us excited. What's difficult about money sometimes in personal finance is that it's very abstract, as Nathan talked about. It's you know, especially when you're thinking long-term needs and long-term obligations. It's very abstract. So I'm a big fan of visualization. I'm a big fan of identifying those goals and as specifically as possible. Like, don't just think I want to buy a house in a year, but what color is that house? What street is it on? You know, what does the backyard look like? Really, as much as you can immerse yourself in that visualization is key. And this works, we know, for athletes who are trying to win Super Bowls. We know this works with people who are trying to, you know, finish cross lines at marathons and people trying to lose weight. Visualization is very powerful. The more we can apply it into our financial lives, the more successful we can be.